Visiting Maze by Michael Cisco. She showed me the capacious, transparent form descending from out of clouds of the grayest darkness. "It is a visiting maze," she said. The great glassy wheel with countless inner compartments impressed itself onto the soft landscape. The firm ground yielded to it like flesh. "It travels," she explained, and turned, showing her eyes. "It follows me, ever since I was a little girl." I took her in my arms, and she came no closer. "Don't put me off, I don't care about that," I told her. She placed her hand over my mouth. "It is more than a maze. It is a visiting maze," she said, earnestly. Her mouth shone with saliva that spilled from a deeply hidden, transparent fountain, always a little too much of a nectar I longed to drink. It would have disgusted me in anyone else. In her mouth, though, this inflamed me. "It already surrounds you," she said. Her voice sank. Disappointment mingled with satisfaction in her voice. She showed me the shining, invisible walls that rose from a rain-washed street, now inundated with sunlight. "It is a visiting maze," she said. The blinding glare of its unseen walls smarted in my eyes. I blinked, and the images would not disappear. They surrounded me in my own inner obscurity. I reached out for her, found her waist, and drew her to me. She came no nearer. "It is not made only of physical walls," she told me. "It is made of events. It consists also of glances, comments, small gestures, terse notes." My hand parted her garments, and I stroked the skin of her waist. I turned into the lane with her at my side. The lane was feathered with ivy that sparkled with drops of rainwater. A breath of air from out of an open cellar door stirred the leaves. Their glints lanced my eyes. "That was the Minotaur's breath," she murmured. I pulled her roughly toward me to kiss her, but the face that confronted me was a doll's, fixed. She met me where two hallways join, and showed me where to find the chamber in which she habitually slept. "Can't we go now?" I asked, hoarsely. "It is a visiting maze," was all she could tell me. Her face showed at the window of the little restaurant. "It is a visiting maze," her glance silently told me. She turned her attention back to the Minotaur, sitting beside her, and he lowered his shaggy head to her bosom. Wandering through the town, I was more and more lost. Glory settled in diaphanous waves above the walls. The day was filled with hypnotic green life. All living things bathed and were suspended and were entranced in its warm haze. There was only one dead person in the town. He traveled its lanes and byways. He searched for nothing but searching further. He was his own Minotaur. The maze never deserted him. It waited just within the gauze of the day's glory, rampant, like the sound of a choir shouting. A memory accosted me a moment after I'd caught sight of her, crossing the bridge. "It is a visiting maze," the memory said. The corridor had exactly the shape of her body and her dress. It followed me like my own shape. I hurried after her, following the thread of memory. I turned a corner and was brought up short again by a blank wall. On it were her eyes, On it was the slight pulsation of the hollow in her throat, and all over it there were all of her eccentricities, hanging like trophies. "Oh, don't imagine," the voice said, "that simply because you have become so estranged from them, and hide them at the end of convoluted pathways, that your emotions are safely out of the way. Don't imagine you are beyond their reach. Their reach is terribly long, long and elastic. The interminability of the corridors is a fond dream of yours. That tempest is still with you. That white derangement waits inside with all its fury, yet patiently biding its time, crooning to the night air, knowing it will not wait forever, not even all that long. It is a visiting maze, only visiting, you understand now. It has lost none of its power to seduce and intoxicate you with misery. A labyrinth has a heart and a secret at its center. The maze is heartless. It is only a worried passage from one point to another. The points it connects mean nothing in themselves. It is only a visiting maze. She showed me her body, unvirgin, of radiant gold. "It is a visiting maze," she told me. The maze guided me to her, and never left me. She drew my body to her. I was not any closer. The maze had been speaking about me. But to whom, if not to me? "He loves her," the maze said, "but only because she knows the maze." I was painted with her gold. I passed her in the aisle without giving her a second look. "It is a visiting maze," my silence said. "He loves the maze," I heard the maze say. "He does not love the woman. That's why he abandoned her at Naxos and went back to the maze. He couldn't stop moving in a maze-like way, outraging himself, forever going back over his convolutions. He went away, but drew no farther from her. She searched for him, and, in a cul-de-sac she recognized too well. She found a dummy that turned to her with a dull, mechanical, grating sound in the throat.